Hi, everybody, and welcome to the FGB podcast, where we highlight some pretty badass women who are CEOs, business owners, founders, whether of a small business or a big corporation. The great thing about all these ladies that we have on our show is that they prioritize their fitness, nutrition, and overall health. We talk on this show about how we can marry a busy lifestyle and a healthy lifestyle together to achieve anything. All right, we also talk about the importance of how taking care of yourself physically and mentally through nutrition can have a positive effect on the bottom line of your business. This podcast is brought to you by Bodzii, an online nutrition and lifestyle coaching company dedicated to helping female entrepreneurs heighten their health and fitness levels, all while running a business. You can visit us at www.bodzii.com. That's Bodzii. Today on the show, we have a awesome girl boss. Her name is Natalie. And you're going to hear us talking a lot about a lot of different things. Before we get into that interview, you're also going to hear us talking a lot about, some things that we're posting on our social media, some things that are going on in our community. And one of these things that has kind of been a topic that has been brought up a couple of times in the past is stress. And Natalie has a pretty amazing story about, her progress with not only her fitness, but how she got into owning a nutrition company, or a nutrition school, I should say, and her stress journey on how she has managed that throughout the years. So I'm really excited for you guys to get into it, because we kind of get into, a really good conversation about how we can manage stress, different ways of managing stress, why stress is such a beast of a topic, and how it can manifest itself in so many negative ways in our life. And so I'm really hoping you guys take something away from it. So stay tuned. We're recording right now. I literally, because I don't want to miss anything. I'm like, sometimes we might just go off on a tangent. I'm like, that's good shit. And so I just keep it. I always usually the past couple podcasts, I've been using my Instagram and what I've been posting on social media as my topic of choice, just because it's on the forefront of my mind.
Yeah.
So I told you in the other episode that, or maybe I didn't, I don't remember. Maybe it was not recorded. I told you that Doug kind of got mad at me for throwing shade at this woman, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know if he intentionally made me feel guilty, but I totally started to feel this guilt. And in bed last night, I was like, shit, he's sort of right. I sort of did something that I don't like seeing when other people do. I'm not going to drop any names on here, but there are people that I see on Instagram where, someone will ask them a question in their story, and the way that they respond to it is you're a fucking idiot if you do that. You know what I mean? Or it's what are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? Intermittent fasting is for idiots. And they'll actually say stuff like that. And I'm like, and when I read it, I'm like, oh man, poor girl or poor guy who's asking that question, because they literally just need to be educated. And so when I looked back on my little tangent that I went on, and I do appreciate you bringing up the fact that you did recognize that I was more so annoyed at the things that she was giving out as to-dos in order to cure adrenal fatigue in this case. And that was totally it, because when people come out giving prescriptive measures or to-dos or tasks or these remedies, it makes our job very difficult. And it makes we're big preachers of the basics. And I know we're going to talk about that today in some of our questions in our interview coming up. Is the basics and stuff like that. But if anybody listening has been following us for a while, or me especially for a while, that I'm all about the basics. And when someone comes in and they're like, I drink a lot of water, but there's salt in it because I really think that's going to help my hormones. And then I have a shot of apple cider vinegar in the morning just to help my gut microbiome and this and that, whatever. And then I ask them how many veggies they're eating, and they're like, none. That's what drives me nuts,
Right.
So anyways, I went to Instagram this morning and just kind of like toned myself down a little bit. And I was like, you know what? I did something the other day where I put someone down and I didn't want to do that. I more so just want to be able to educate and share information and learn from other people and like come together as a community of fitness and nutrition leaders to do what we're all here to do in the first place. And that is to create healthy humans.
Yeah.
Like we're all on the same team, right?
Yeah.
Am I right or am I right?
No, you're right. And, I don't think you need to lose any sleep over it. Definitely.
I think that's just how my week has been going.
Yeah. But, yeah. And I think it's also important to note too that, I didn't really take it as a rant. I more took it as somebody, who heard something and then it was coming from a place of passion, right? Mm-hmm. Coming from a place where you genuinely care about your work and what's going out into the world. And that putting salt in your water, having tea isn't the fountain of youth. Right? Wish it was.
Imagine if it was, though. Imagine if all we had to do was drink tea. That's it. We just drink. We order tea toxes and they get delivered to our doorstep once a month in nice little packages. And it's like, this is all you need. You want to lose weight? Drink this tea. You want to get healthier? Drink this tea.
Totally. And the problem, unfortunately, and it is an actual problem within this industry, is that, say, for example, drinking salt water and having a tea was the fountain of youth, there would still be a company that would come out with tea in pill form and try to sell that to you, right?
Totally.
Yeah. So that's where it becomes...
Or a gummy.
No. Yeah, it's like...
A tea gummy.
And it's like, no, just eat, drink the tea.
I did a shout out to Jordan Syatt. I don't know if you follow him on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, but he is so funny because the way that he talks, but I mean, oh my God, he does hilarious tweets and stuff like that, but he will make full on, I put him on my Instagram story today. He will make full on YouTube videos where he plays like two different roles and he'll put on wigs and act like Susie who loves juice cleanses. And then he'll act as himself trying to educate Susie on like all this stuff, but he just does it in like this hilarious way. And it's just so great because I mean, he's like educating, but you remember it because you're laughing at it.
Right.
I love it. I think he puts out great content.
I'll check him out.
Yeah, check him out. So yeah, today we are, we're going to have a conversation about, I'm excited to have this conversation with Natalie. I'll do a little intro on her now because she'll be on here in about 5 minutes. So Natalie is a boss in the literal sense and just as a person sense. She fully understands the importance of nutrition and fitness and all the positive effects that it has on our professional lives. So Natalie Rivier is her name. She is she's the owner of the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, the Ottawa branch. She's also a certified yoga teacher, pole fitness instructor, CrossFit coach, and a stand-up paddleboard instructor, that's just fucking awesome. She's kind of like, she lives that lifestyle that I sort of like wish that I could do, like I live by a beach and I paddleboard in the mornings and then I do yoga after and I just watch the waves crash down and my life is great.
Sounds glorious.
I feel like that's who she is. She also teaches the fundamentals of nutrition part 1, sports nutrition, and the healthy baking and eating for sports performance culinary workshop. She's in the waiting room, so I'll bring her in a second.
Cool.
So the great thing about Nat too is that she's currently going through the Bodzii Program. And yeah, Michelle, I know you have a couple things that you wanted to say about her before she comes on. So you want to take it away.
Yeah. So the amazing thing and how we were introduced to Natalie, as Robyn just mentioned, is that she's currently going through the Bodzii Program. So as a client service manager, I interview clients for case studies. And during an interview with Natalie, we had such a great, informative conversation that I said, okay, you have to join Robyn and I on our podcast. So here we are.
Bringing her in.
Bring her in. Bring him out. Bring him out. We should have that like T.I. song. Bring him out.
Hey, Nat, quick question for you right off the bat. Now you're here. What is your intro song of choice?
Intro song of choice, like for a podcast?
Just in general, life. Like if you were to just like, you had to show up into a room and there was a song that needed to be playing when you entered the room, what would it be?
Like imagine you are a UFC fighter and someone is about to announce you.
I know it. It's like from 1986 probably. It's like, we're not gonna take it. I think it's like Twisted Sister, Quiet Riot or something.
I love it. That's so great.
I love that song.
So good. Natalie, hi. Thanks for being here. We got into this because right before you came on, we were doing a little bit of an introduction for you. And just a quick heads up, we are already recording. We record these podcasts and then I edit them later and so we're fully recording now, but Michelle was just doing a little bit of an intro for you. And before finishing off her intro, she said, let's just bring Natalie in because she probably has some comments on the intro that we're going to do about her anyways. And then we can kind of just get the conversation rolling from there. Sure. So I thought, hey, that's a good way to start. And then we can kind of just like get this thing going.
Okay.
So we went through your full bio, about, the school, the Ottawa branch, all your many, many activities, your paddle boarding, your crossfitting. And then we also mentioned, we did a little plug for ourselves at Bodzii, and how you are currently going through the Bodzii program.
Yeah.
And what I loved about our conversation is that you actually increased your caloric intake with us. And as a result, you're now crushing PRs in every single lift that you've had, which is huge because you're a CrossFit coach, and you've consistently worked out and had a consistent workout schedule for, what did you say, 15 years, was it?
Easily 20, more than that now.
Yeah. So you're not just someone who's, starting out and seeing the benefits of that. This is something that you have a base in and you know your PRs, and then adding this, caloric increase has just pushed you to that next level, which I love to see women doing and talking about.
Yeah, it was like 100% nutrition related because like you said, I've been training for a long time. I know what I'm doing in the gym. I kept my training as consistent and the same as always. I mean, not the same because I always change up my workouts, of course, but it's 100% nutrition. It's insane the difference in my workouts and my energy level overall. So not just for my workouts, but for the rest of the day.
Awesome.
It's it's just something that you can't let this story, this like just talking to you and your story go unnoticed, because it's still something that is just way too common with women, especially highly active women. You would think and hope, and I see it going in the right direction. I do see that people are being more educated on the amount of food that they do need to eat and how to recover properly and perform properly and stuff like that. But it still is, the majority of women are still under eating. And as Michelle said, like, this is just like, we thought this was such a powerful opportunity to tell this story and tell speak about your progress a little bit more. And then also to speak about like who you are and how you like balance your workouts with your like job and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think I would love to know this because I wasn't in that conversation that you and Michelle had. And so I want to hear a little bit more about your startup story and how you kind of managed to get that rolling.
So in terms of my workout or my business or which one?
What did you talk about first, Michelle? Do you want to do workouts first and then we can do business after?
Sure.
Yeah. So basically, like, it's not like I was ever really on some sort of restrictive diet per se. Like, I was already eating, I think we tracked it for a few days just for the fun of it, just to see where I was at. And I was eating like, 2,000, 2,200. It kind of varied, but it wasn't like really, really low by any means. I'm not afraid of food or anything like that. So, plus obviously I'm educated in nutrition. So I was eating like a really clean whole foods diet and, fueling myself what I thought was enough. Right. But, and so I really wanted this goal of putting on muscle mass for so many reasons. First reason is that, like, I come from the genetics of a very long, lean, tall family. Like, I'm 5'9", 5'10", and putting on weight doesn't come that easy to me. I mean, like anyone else, I'm sure if I didn't exercise and didn't eat well, I would gain fat for sure. But nonetheless, my body type doesn't put on muscle very easily. So, yeah, I've been training all these years, and yeah, the people who know me, actually, people tease me all the time. They're like, I was trying to take my sweater off at the gym yesterday, actually, and I couldn't get it over my lats. When you're trying to pull something over your head, your lats kind of flare out. So the guys were making fun of me. They're like, ooh, swole problems, like, people make fun of me because I train a lot, but I'm not really that big. I'm like one of those little dogs, who thinks I'm huge, but really I'm not.
Yeah.
So people make fun of me, but, it's because they love me. So it's kind of fun. So I was like, you know what? I really want to put on muscle mass for so many reasons. So the first reason is that, yeah, you know what? I train a lot. Like, I'm an athlete. Like, why don't I have more muscle mass than this? It just doesn't make sense. Like, I don't look like what I actually do. So that's number one. Number two is that, like, I'm 44 years old. So there's apparently, actually, even at this age, I shouldn't be able to gain muscle mass. I should be losing it, according to textbook. And so I think that over the years, for sure, no doubt about it, especially after menopause and things like that, it's going to be a challenge, or more of a challenge, to hold on to muscle mass. So might as well start in a surplus, might as well have extra, and then if I lose a little, it's not the end of the world. And of course, the third reason, and maybe the fourth, tie them together, is that having this muscle mass on my body is like a fat burning machine, right? It allows me to have the liberty to eat and enjoy life and just live. And then I guess the fourth reason that was in tie in there is, it's preventative for all kinds of problems that you might run into in life, osteoporosis, diabetes, all of these things. It's just a preventative measure. The more muscle mass, the better. So I was like, I know this stuff. I know it. I know that I could calculate my own macros and figure out what to eat, but the truth is, and it was kind of hard for me to admit as a nutritionist myself, to admit that, like, maybe I need some support through this journey, because when you do something on yourself, it's always the hardest because you're not on the outside looking in, right? So, I'll always be questioning, like, ooh, what should I do? Oh, maybe I'm not doing the right thing. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to, coaches need coaches, right? So I'm just going to hire a coach. It's not the accountability that I need, which is why a lot of people hire coaches, so that, they have someone to show what they ate, prove that they did their workout. That's not my issue. I'm on top of all of that. It's just that bottom line is, yes, I'm a long, lean person and I know all about nutrition and whatever, but it's scary as a woman to basically say, like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to intentionally put on weight. What? Who does that? And so just having Elisa to be like, you're doing great, keep going. Yeah, I need to see you get your carbs up. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, is really, it's just nice to have somebody to sort of bounce things off of, and just to be there to be like, yep, it's working out great. Like, and I'm hitting my PRs. She's probably tired of me texting her, like, I'm like, I hit a PR in the gym today. Like, woo. So it's just fun to have someone like right alongside you on that journey.
Someone to have your back, right? Yeah. And I love that you intentionally tie all this back to, like, long-term, down the road health like reasons, right? Like it's not just, you did mention like, and I totally understand where you're coming from. It's like, I work out so much. Why don't I look like the effort, or why doesn't my body reflect the effort that I put in the gym? That hands down is the reason that I started working with a nutrition coach like 6 years ago. I was like so fed up of working in the gym, working out in the gym so much, putting in this effort. And I'm the same as you. I can't put on muscle for the life of me. Like it's so difficult. But I also more so appreciate that now, like as you're older, you're starting to recognize that like these are things that are going to benefit me like years down the road.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of women also don't understand that if they want that lean look and they want that like toned look that a lot of women want, a lot of the time you don't need to be losing fat. You need to be doing the opposite. Right? Because you're not going to get that toned leanness look if you're not putting the effort into actually building that lean muscle mass in the first place.
Yeah, that's what I really noticed about myself, because in the summer I actually contracted a parasite. And so I couldn't eat for, well, most things made my stomach hurt and made me sick. So I lost a bit of weight. And so, you know, I was really, really lean, but it didn't look good. Like I was too skinny. So what's the point of getting all ripped up if there's nothing under there? You know, you need to have a little bulk on you, a little mass on you. And then when we shed that off, then you don't look like you're ill, you know? So I think putting on the muscle mass is nothing to be afraid of. And then when you're lean, there's actually some structure and some meat,
some substance there.
Yeah.
And you talked a bit about in the beginning about it affecting your energy levels too. So let's like, as a little bit of a transition into like your work life, how is this helping you and just your day-to-day activities right now?
Oh, it's incredible, because I'm sure, you know, as an entrepreneur, like I actually often tell people, I'm like, oh, my life is great. I barely work at all. That's so not true. I work from sun up till sundown. It's just that I don't actually go to an office.
Natalie, you are the people that are glorifying entrepreneurship.
It's so weird. And then when I sit and think about it, like, for example, I was getting my nails done before the shutdown one day, and the woman was like, oh, so what Netflix shows are you watching these days? I'm like, Netflix shows? Like, I don't watch Netflix. Like, I'm always working. So I realized, like, wait a minute, I don't go to an office and actually sit there and you know, put in 8 hours. No, I work from the minute I wake up till the minute I go to bed. That's literally when I go to bed. I'm like, okay, I can't work anymore. I've got to go to bed. So I work a lot, and and I'm a single mom. So it requires like a lot of energy because when you're an entrepreneur, you have like, your mind never stops with ideas, right? That's what an entrepreneur is, an ideas person. So all these ideas I have, like, I'm just always, I even wake up in the middle of the night and write these things down, just crazy ideas that I have. And I want to have the energy to be able to do them. And there was a time when, because my workout's always first, I'm different than the rest of the population. So the rest of the population gets up, you know, cooks, cleans, goes to work, does all the things they have to do. And then if there's time, they fit their workout in. Well, I do the opposite. I wake up in the morning, I throw my hair in a ponytail, and I go work out. So the rest of the stuff is always going to be there waiting for me. And it doesn't take a lot of energy to sit at a computer and get shit done. So I'll do that at the end of the day. So the first thing for me is, of course, I get my kids off to school and all that kind of stuff. And I go straight to the gym. So that's the first thing. So that's never been an issue for me. But then there were days when I had energy for the gym, but then the rest of the day was like, ugh, I was running out of fuel is actually what I've come to realize. Because even in the beginning of this, when we upped my calories, you know, by 300-400, I didn't gain any weight. That was actually my maintenance. That should have been my maintenance. That was giving me the energy that I needed. So, of course, again, entrepreneurial mindset during this pandemic, I see lots of opportunities. So I've like started other businesses and just, you know, improved on the ones that I already run and just implementing new things. So to have this energy at this time is even more critical, in my opinion, because there's an opportunity here and I want to capitalize on that. So it's helped me not only with my workouts, because that was never an issue. I could use all my energy for my workout, but then the rest of the day might suffer. And so now it doesn't. I have energy to do all the things that I want to do, which is amazing.
So I was just going to say, we always talk about our non-negotiables and what those are. And what I just heard from you is that going to the gym every day for you is a non-negotiable. Do you have any others that you also incorporate in your day?
That's a really good question, because once there was this little questionnaire that my kids had to fill out at school about their mom. And so it said, what makes your mom the most happy? What makes your mom the happiest, or something like that. And it wasn't like, oh, when I clean my room or when I do that. It was like when she goes to the gym. So people around me, they notice if I don't go to the gym, I'm not myself. It really is important for my mental health, my physical health, like every aspect of my life. It's really, really important to me. So yeah, it's a non-negotiable, and everyone around me knows that they're going to suffer. So just give me that hour and let me go to the gym. The other thing for me is sleep. Like even in university and things like that, I was never the person who would stay up all night studying. I'm like, nope, I'm going to bed at 10 and I'll wake up at 6 and study for an hour in the morning. Like staying up and losing your sleep is not going to gain you anything. And when I talk to people about health, I always say, and it's in this order, you need to sleep well, eat well, and exercise well. Like it's sleep comes first. So I don't let that.
You're hired.
I really don't let that one go for anything. And it's hard sometimes because there's so many things to do. And I just tell myself, nope, everything will be there waiting for me tomorrow. I'm going to bed. And, I gave up enough years of sleep, right? As a single mother with 2 children, I had enough sleepless nights, and now they're older. I'm like, oh, sleep. And, people say to me, oh, you look so good. I actually look better now than I did in my 30s because it's one simple thing, sleep.
Yeah. I was the totally same as you. In university, it boggled my mind when people pull all-nighters for like an exam. I was like, but like how? Like, and why? And like, I just didn't get it. It was like, wait, you're pulling all-nighters for an exam because you think it's going to help you get a better score. When in my case, it would do the complete opposite. Well, in everybody's case, it would do the complete opposite, but a lot of people just don't realize it, or they just don't actually prioritize it.
It's so true. And I mean, later on in life, I learned that when you sleep, that's when all those things sort of solidify in your long-term memory, right? So what's the point of not sleeping? You might as well study, go to bed, and then it all sort of marinades in your head there, and then you can figure it out tomorrow. Sleep, just sleep, forget it. Everything else will still be there waiting for you. It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah. And you mentioned your kids, and I think it's important for our listeners to kind of hear your startup story and how you got started with the nutrition story, because I found it so empowering. So do you want to tell us just a little bit about your startup story?
Yeah. So honestly, I always say that it's been many years now, but I mean, at the point when that was a pivotal point in my life, when I became a single mom, had a child, bought my business, everything happened at once. But had you told me 10 years prior to that this is how your life is going to go, I would have laughed my head off. Like, what are you talking about? This is insane. So basically, in a nutshell, I'll try to keep it short and simple because it's kind of a process of this huge transformation in life, and it doesn't unravel overnight, right? It takes a little while. But so basically, I did everything I was supposed to do as a young adult. So I went to school, I got a degree in criminology and psychology, I bought a house at the age of 22, I had a fully paid sports car. People make fun of me now. It was a 1995 Grand Am, but that was a sports car.
Nice.
A fully paid for a sports car. And I had a job in my field. I worked for Ottawa Police as a youth social worker. So, life is apparently supposed to be great. But it wasn't great for me. I was like, I really remember waking up one day in my, my cute little townhouse that I had purchased on my own, and my car in the laneway, and my cat sitting beside me. And I was like, really? Is this all there is to life? Like, I've done everything I'm supposed to do. Is this it? Because I don't feel that great. Like, what's my mom talking about? I did all these things, and now what? So I really started to shift and try to understand what is it that I want to do in life. And while this was going on, I was a really type A personality. everything had to be perfect. My house looked like a model home. It was spotless, like straight A student in school, like everything perfect. So eventually what happened is I had what normal society would call a nervous breakdown, but in the health world, it's just adrenal exhaustion, right? So because I was actually working full-time for the police at night, and I was working full-time in the day for the YMCA also as a social worker, and I was teaching like 20 fitness classes in between all that, so like the hours don't even add up. I don't even know how I did it. So, of course, I end up with adrenal exhaustion, but the medical world can't tell me what's wrong with me. I go to all these doctors, specialists, endocrinologists, you name it, and everyone's, nothing's wrong with you. I'm like, I'm telling you, something is wrong with me. Like, I'm gaining weight for no apparent reason. I have all kinds of cravings. My face is breaking out in acne. I have my period 1 week on, 1 week off. Like, after a few weeks of that, you got no iron left in your body. It was just terrible. So I was searching one day on the internet. Like there wasn't even Google back then. It was dial-up, you know, it comes down like stupid slow. So I was like looking up vitamins because I was in the fitness industry. So I had some understanding. I'm like, okay, there must be some vitamins I can take that will help some of these things. So sure enough, you know, when you Google something, you get like 1,001 different responses. So off I go to GNC at the time. I buy every friggin' vitamin that's on that list. I come back home, I lay them all out on my table. You can no longer eat there. There's so many herbs and vitamins and minerals and supplements and concoctions I have to take, you know, and some of them are with meals, without meals, before breakfast, before bed. So I make a spreadsheet, you know, type A personality.
Like, color code it.
Like following this little regime of all these crazy things, right?
You and I are such complete, like that is my nightmare. We are the opposite.
So I still carry these stupid little vitamin cases with me, and I still have a house like a model home. Like I didn't let go of all my type A personality things, but it was really an eye opener for me once I did figure out what was wrong with me. So I started taking these things and I noticed like very minor changes. My skin starts to clear up a little bit and like certain things are changing. So I'm like, ooh, I'm onto something here, you know? So I'm at the YMCA, I remember, because I have better internet access there, and I Google, I don't know, nutrition or vitamins or something, and up comes the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. It's like the sky opened up. I was like, oh, here's your answer, you know? I read through this website, and I'm like, oh my God, that's the answer. I need to fix myself. Like, I need to learn how to fix myself. I keep going to doctors and specialists. Nobody knows what to do with me, so I'm just going to learn it myself. I literally printed off the registration form, filled it out, wrote a check. That's how you did it back then. Put it in an envelope, put it in the mail, walk up to my boss's office, and I'm like, I quit. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I quit. I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice. I'm going back to school. And so he's like, okay, you know, have fun with that. So, because school's starting in like 2 weeks, right? It's August. I didn't go to the school, check it out. I didn't call, nothing. Something inside me knew to this day, like so clearly, that that's what I need to do. So I signed up for the school. I have to quit one of my 2 jobs. So now I rent out every room in my house because I have a 3-bedroom townhouse. I live there by myself. So I rent out the basement, the 2 upstairs bedrooms to try to pay for school and keep my life going and everything. So that turns out just fine. And so I go to school and like, I still can't explain to this day because, you know, you don't learn everything you need to know in a couple of days of classes, but something inside those 4 walls, I started to understand, of course, about nutrition and the adrenal glands and stress and cortisol and all that stuff. But the big thing that happened is this mental shift started to happen where I was like, you know what? 99% of the shit that I'm stressing about is not worth stressing about. Like, why am I killing myself over cleaning every piece of hardwood on my hands and knees? Like, I'm the only person who lives in the house. How dirty can it be?
Your cat actually really wanted it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
She told me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really like made this shift. And it was a little extreme at first because that's how humans are, right? We go from one end of the spectrum to the other where I was like, from now on, I'm never waking up with an alarm clock. I'm never going to do a job I don't like anymore. I stuck to that one. I'm never going to, you know, all these rules I made for myself, things that were stressing me out, I was never going to do them again. And actually fast forward now, I own that school that I attended, and I start class at 10 because I was like, I'm never waking up with an alarm clock. What time can I be up, ready, and out the door on my own? 10 a.m. So class starts at 10 a.m. at my school.
That's amazing.
Because I'm the boss.
Yeah.
I get to make it what I want. So I went to this school, and it was absolutely life altering. It really changed my mental perspective, and then of course my physical health. So when I was done, the owner said to me at the time, would you teach our sports nutrition course for us next year? I was like, yeah, I would love to, totally love to. So now we go into the next year, I'm teaching sports nutrition and maybe a couple of other courses, and I'm absolutely loving it, but the rest of my life is still not sitting right with me. Like, I'm not happy. And now there's all these people living in my house. Like, there's strangers renting out rooms in my house. I'm like, I don't even feel like this is my home anymore. And I didn't know how to get everyone else. So I put a for sale sign on the front lawn. I was like, we just all got to get out. Simple as that. Like, get me out of here. So I put a for sale sign on the front lawn. The house sold in one day for double the price I bought it for.
Nice.
Double the price. So I'm like 28, 27 years old. And I have like a whack ton of money now. Not yet, like the closing date's coming. So simultaneously, while all this is happening, I'm selling my house because I just got to get the hell out of here. I realize that I'm pregnant. Oh, great. So I'm pregnant. Get this. I was vegetarian at the time. So there was this vegetarian restaurant down the road from my house. I used to eat there 7 days a week. And so I would go at closing, and the guy who worked there at closing would give me the food for free because they're just going to throw in the garbage, and he would lock the door and clean up the restaurant and let me, you know, finish my food and all this kind of stuff. And then what do you know? I'm pregnant with this baby, but I'm telling you, it was like an immaculate conception. So now I'm pregnant with some guy who, I find out is an illegal immigrant, by the way. So I'm like, he's working there for cash. I'm like, okay, this is real stable. I don't have a house because the closing date's coming and I haven't bought another one yet. So I don't have any place to live. I'm going to be a single mom. Like, it just feels like life is just falling apart, you know? So now it's like springtime because that's when you sell a house to make the most money. Cool. So I go to pick up my last paycheck at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition for teaching sports nutrition or whatever it was. And I'm just walking out the door and the owner says, oh, wait, Natalie, I have a question for you. She's like, I'm thinking of retiring. Do you know anyone who would like to buy the school? I'm like, what? I'm going to be a single mom. Imagine if I owned a school. I'm going to have 2 weeks off of Christmas, March break, summer. I got all this money and nothing to do with it. So I was like, in hindsight, I think she knew that I might want it. But at the time, I was like, what? This is amazing.
She was playing
like,
you.
Yes, I do. So she said, okay, I'll give you all the paperwork. It's a big process, right? When you buy a business, you got to accountants, lawyers, and all this junk. So that's fine. So we went through all that. And so sure enough, I bought the place cash. I never had to get a loan to buy the existing business, which was amazing because she went through all the hard part, right? She owned it for 5 years. She went through all the aches and pains. And when she gave it to me, it was like a fine-tuned machine. It was amazing. So I paid cash for that. I got a house for me and my daughter. The man I was pregnant with, he got deported back to Africa, never to be seen again. I was like this free bird. It was so amazing. And so I bought that school, and the growth that it saw over the coming years and the life that it has afforded me, and now I have 2 children. I won't tell you the story about the second one, but
we'll save that for another episode.
Yeah, we'll save that for another day. But my life, so I mean, I didn't realize I was going to get a job out of it. That was actually irrelevant at the time. I just wanted to heal myself, fix my health. And in hindsight, even if I had never earned $1, what is done for my own health and my children who I went on to have, who, you know, never had to have antibiotics. If they got an ear infection, I knew how to fix it naturally. they're thriving and I'm thriving, and it's afforded us a decent lifestyle, because I remember when I was pregnant, I just had this fear, oh my God, I'm going to have one of those cheap fold up strollers. I'm going to be taking OC Transpo. I'm going to be broke ass living in some like co-op housing. Oh my God, like the single mom life. That's the image I had in my head. But no, we've had an amazing life, and it's still the best job. I can't imagine myself doing anything else. It's absolutely incredible.
That's so amazing. So cool. I have so many questions for you. I don't really know that best story ever. First of all, I can't wait to hear the story about your second child. So when you were I'm trying to think of I'm going back on your timeline here. When you were in your house, before you sold it, before any of like you finding the school or anything like that, were you active back then? Were you, when you did have your police academy job, like were you working out? Were you like, what were you doing then?
Yeah. So the story of my working out is also an epic story, actually. So growing up, I lived in the country, so, for my parents to drive us to sports and activities and stuff like that, it just wasn't practical. And my mom was like a very hardworking woman, and my parents owned a business as well. So they were super busy, and it's not like they're going to drive us into the city for, t-ball and hockey and all this. My brother did play hockey, but, I really didn't have an interest in sports. So my parents didn't sign me up for stuff like that. So then, I got to school and I was tall, right? So everybody was like, ooh, you need to be on the basketball team. I'm like, no, you don't want me on your team. Trust me, like I suck at sports. And so I never really participated in team sports. It was never my thing. I'm not that coordinated, like this hand-eye coordination stuff. And it was not my thing. But in grade 10, so I think you have to have one gym credit to graduate high school. So in grade 10, there was this gym course called Fit for Life. And the description sounded like, kind of cool. Like it didn't sound like we're just going to play like in elementary school, every teacher knows nothing about gym. So they're like, here's a ball, play dodgeball. I'm like, oh my God, if I ever play dodgeball again, I'm going to kill myself. So I was like, it doesn't sound like it's going to be dodgeball every day, right? So I signed up for this course, and only 9 girls sign up for this course. So the teacher says, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to focus on an activity for like 4 weeks at a time, and then we're going to move on to the next and move on to the next. So she said, it's September right now. The weather's nice. I live in the country, so I'll preface it by saying this. She said, go home, tell your dads to throw your bikes in the back of their pickup truck, because that's what everybody drove, right? And tell them to bring your bikes to school because we're going to do cycling for 4 weeks. I'm like, okay, cool. So that's cool. I knew how to bike because it's the only way to get anywhere in my small town. Your parents aren't going to drive you to your friend's house. You're going to ride your bike. So we did cycling. Okay, cool. So then the next block, 4 weeks, was running. Oh my God. So she tells us we're going to run. Okay, no problem. So, we start running literally from the door of the school to the road. I'm dying on the first day, like dying. I can't run. What is this woman talking about? But whatever, we give it a go. She tells us if you can't run, just walk, okay, fine. So we walk. Next day, I run a little bit more. And the next day, a little bit more, and so on and so on. I'm like, this is pretty cool because I'm in my own head. It's kind of meditative. No one has any expectation of me. Like, I don't got to pass a ball to somebody and all this kind of stuff. So I'm just thinking, this is pretty cool. So I actually started running at home. I'd run to the end of my road and back, which was like at least a couple of miles before you ever hit even your neighbor's house. So I would just run to the end of my road and back, and I started liking this running thing. And then the third block was the high school weight room. Never seen anything like this before, right? So she takes us into the weight room, and like she puts us on the leg press, and genetically N plus females, we tend to be a little stronger on the bottom than on the top. I put the pin in the weight stack and start pressing it, and I put it heavier and heavier and heavier, and it was so empowering. I was like, this is so cool. I loved the 4 week block of the weight room. Like, I absolutely loved it. So at the time I turned 16, I got a license, and my dad actually works in car sales. So he got me some junky car that some old lady had traded in. So he just took it home and gave it to me. So I had a car. So I started to drive to the nearest like community center, and I paid like $2.85 to go use $2.85 to pay per use to go use this weight room. And I absolutely fell in love. So I have been training since I was 16 years old. I didn't stop ever. So weightlifting has been a constant in my life since then. I, of course, ran a little bit, but, and then, so then at 16 years old, so now I did this course. I'm like, this is really cool. I graduated grade 10 and my friend was in the class too, my best childhood friend. And so she said, let's become aerobics instructors, because we used to see her mom do this little aerobics class on TV, right? And so we called it the YMCA and we're like, hi, can we take the aerobics instructor course? And they're like, how old are you, honey? So we're like 16. So they said, well, you can't take it until you're 18 because you have to take CPR and whatever. So we're like, okay, we'll call back when we're 18. And we did.
Oh my God.
We called back when we're 18. I guess our parents must have paid, now that I'm looking back. I don't know. My mom must have paid for this course. So I go to the YMCA and I sign up for this course. And now you have to know my friend. She's like the total opposite of me. She's 5'2". She just touches the weight. She gains muscle. She's totally coordinated, like the calves on her. She's just an amazing person. So we go to this course together and she's crushing it. Knees up, grapevine, all the old aerobics moves. She's got it going on. And I'm like long and lanky and my legs are longer than they're supposed to be. And I'm tripping all over myself and it's a disaster, but I'm not giving up on it. So the woman running the course at the end, she says to me, like they're going to pass me, but give me my little certificate that I'm now an aerobics instructor. But the woman leading the course comes up to me at the end and she says in like a roundabout way, maybe you should find another career for yourself. This doesn't really look like
this isn't for you.
Well, good for her for telling me that, because I was like, oh, I'll show you. So I worked at that. Oh, you should have seen me grapevining through my living room left and right.
That is so funny.
Right? So anyways, I became an amazing aerobics instructor, what we would call today a group fitness instructor. And one day I see a posting at the largest YMCA in my city. It's the Metro Central YMCA, looking for a group fitness coordinator. So I go and apply for the job, and lo and behold, who is the boss of the fitness program is that woman who taught me the course. So I sit down in front of her and I go through the interview and she's like, oh, I just want you to teach the noon class today. We'll see how it goes. And if it's good, you're hired. I'm like, no problem. So the noon class comes, tunes on, microphone on, song on the outside of your spandex, ready to go. Like, it was a long time ago.
That is so good. I need a picture of this or like a video. We need to impose it on this video.
Oh, frig. I wish I would have kept some of those bodysuits. They're priceless. But anyways, so I teach the class. I'm on fire. And so she hires me. And then I say to her, do you remember me? And she's like, no, do I know you? I say, yeah, you taught me to be a fitness instructor. And you told me basically that I suck. She was like, yeah? She's like, you don't suck. And so, yeah, I just went on to become the group fitness coordinator at the YMCA. And then that's how I got myself to university. I taught like fitness classes between university classes. And then, of course, the classic, I was a waitress at night. So, yeah, I have been active and doing fitness since the age of 16. So prior to that, single motherhood, police, Canadian School of Natural.
It's been a part of your life for a long time.
Yeah.
The reason why I ask, and I wanted to kind of get like, I guess a better understanding of what your routines look like and stuff like that before you kind of dove into the world of nutrition. We have to talk about something. We have to address something, because people listening to this, they're going to ask why I didn't if they listen to it and I don't. So you said that you discovered that you did you self-diagnose yourself with adrenal exhaustion, or did you, and the reason why I asked this is because, this is adrenal exhaustion, metabolic damage, these things, they're terms that we throw around, I think a little bit too often without really understanding that the at a fundamental level, they're caused by chronic, heightened, elevated levels of stress, right? And so my question for you is, do you think that the process of going to GNC and getting the vitamins and mapping it out and going through all of that in your life was actually a way that lowered overall your stress levels because you were starting to find and make a life for yourself that was more in line with who you are as a human versus living this structured life that you thought for yourself before? And maybe your stress levels overall were a lot higher than you actually thought they were before. And so your skin clearing up and all these things that were happening because of the supplements you were taking were really just, I got my shit together and I'm finally figuring out life and I love myself and I love my life now. And that's why my skin is clearing up.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's such a good question. So it's two parts. Yeah. So absolutely. The first shift in my health started to come when I literally sat there in my empty house by myself with my cat, thinking to myself, like, really love you, kitty, but there's got to be more to life than this. And I started to become an entirely different person. Actually, my mom and my dad have been divorced since I was 2, but my mom called my dad. So I'm like, they've been divorced like 30 years at this point almost. My mom called my dad and said, like, and they didn't speak obviously after all those years. What's the point? And I'm an adult now, I was like 20 something. My mom called my dad and said, I think she's gone crazy. Like, I think she's lost her mind. And it's not that. It's that I was being true to myself and living the way I wanted to live. Like, yeah, my mom she's passed on now, but she was an amazing woman, super strong and powerful and driven. And like, I've learned so much from her. And she taught me, yes, education was important to her and you got to buy a house. That's the best investment and all the things that every parent would teach their kid, right? But I guess she didn't realize, like, I'm not as, I'm a risk taker. Like, I take risks. I take chances. I live outside the box. I'm a little more wild than her, I guess you would say. And so to her, like, this perfect child, literally growing up, like, perfect child. What is
all of a sudden off the rails? Yeah.
Like, what is going on with her? All that was going on is that I was finding myself and just living the way that I wanted to live, the way that felt right to me. So yes, that was a turning point for my health for sure. So the endocrinologists and doctors and specialists and all that stuff that I had went to kept on telling me that, oh, well, your cortisol's a little high. And so I would say, well, what is that? And what am I supposed to do? I'm like, nothing. You'll be fine. Have a nice day. So I did know that my cortisol was high, but I didn't know what that meant or what you're supposed to do to fix it or anything like that. And then one day I was reading this magazine, this totally Fruit Loopy. I don't even know if it exists anymore. If it does, I'm sorry if I'm offending them, but it's a very, it's really out there, like crystals and Reiki.
Hippy dippy type. Yeah.
Like more spiritual kind of healing stuff. But anyway,
okay.
I picked it up. I was reading through it because it was always in the vegetarian restaurant where I used to go. So I was flipping through it and there was an article written by a naturopath. And so I read through the whole article and her approach was basically, she was just talking about her approach and that, you got to focus on the whole person and all. It really resonated with me. So I looked at the bottom of the article and it said where you could contact her. So I reached out to her, and to this day, she's still my naturopath 25 years later.
Oh, wow. That's
20
amazing.
years, I guess. I think I was her first client, actually, because she wrote that article. She was fresh out of school and she wanted to recruit clients, wow. Right? So I called her up and I went and I said, I don't know, but this is what's going on with me. And they tell me I have high cortisol levels. So we did the saliva test where you tested at 7 and noon and midnight, like the whole cycle, right? And we sent that to the lab and we kind of narrowed down my huge pile of supplements to like 3 or 4 instead of 20 or 25. And so that really helped me hone in on it. But to stay balanced, because it's a constant juggling act, I can easily fall over the edge again. I feel it when my adrenals are suffering now. I feel like I'm more vulnerable to that. I'm more susceptible to it if I'm not careful. And now I feel it, like if I've taken on too much, or I've said yes to something that I really should have said no to. Because I'm like, oh, well, I should do that. I should help out, but it's not really in line with what I want to do. I feel it. And so now I'm so in tune with my body where I'm like, you know what? It's not in line with my goals, my vision, and my whatever. I'm sorry, but no, I can't do that. I can't take that on, or whatever it is. And I really live in alignment with, who I am, which I still am discovering every day. But yes. So to answer your question, yes, that was the start of the pivot of my health. And I preach it all the time, because if you continue to go to a job that you hate, be in relationships that are toxic, not reflect on yourself and try to grow and learn and figure out what your habits are and patterns and try to become a better person, your physical health is not going to change.
You're going to have a hard time. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I have one more question, because I know Michelle probably has a question and I keep it barging in here, but this is just so interesting to me. So, what would you, like, having gone through all that and, going through all of these steps that you felt were necessary in order to cure your adrenal fatigue or adrenal exhaustion, what do you know now that you would like to share with somebody who currently might think now that they're going through that same thing? They look at their life, they look at their exhaustion levels, and they're like, oh, I have adrenal exhaustion, I'm broken, right? What would you tell, because I know there are still a lot of people out there who think that they feel the need to attach their symptoms to something concrete. And whereas, I think that you and I are both on the same page, where we can agree that stress is just this overarching kind of like ominous beast that really plays a huge effect on our life. And it's really hard to attach ourselves to just being stressed, because that for a lot of people isn't enough of an explanation. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And so what would you maybe tell people now, like, who are going through that same thing? What should they focus on? What should they do in their day-to-day life? What should they not do in their day-to-day life in order to help fix that problem for them?
The biggest thing is prioritize and cut the excuses. Seriously, cut the excuses. If something is that important to you, so if you can complain to me all you want that you don't have any energy and your health sucks and you can't lose weight and you can't whatever, that's fine. But if all you're going to do is complain and not even make an attempt to do something about it because you say, oh, I just don't have time or I can't, well, then it's not actually that important to you. It's not a priority to you. And that's fine. Mm-hmm. It's not for everybody. It's okay.
But then don't complain.
Way. Yeah, it's fine with me. Do whatever. But if it's actually a priority to you, you will find the time. Like I gave the example earlier on. Ask me what show I watch on Netflix. None. I never sit down and watch TV. Never. Because cooking healthy food, getting enough sleep, and exercising is a paramount priority to me. So I forego the Netflix and I prep food for the next day. I make sure that I have everything ready, and I make sure my gym bag is packed the night before and everything is ready. It's just a matter of prioritizing. And so if you don't want to miss your Netflix show, then you have to accept that there's a price for every choice. So no matter if it's a good choice or a bad choice or whatever you want to call it. So, there's a price to me living this life, and there's a price for you to live that way. So the thing is cut the crap, actually. It drives me nuts. I'm going to go on a little rant here, because if you look at social media, you see all these people spouting off all this self-help crap that they've read, right? So if you scroll through Instagram on any given day, it's like, whatever, be the change you want to see in the world. Oh, you can do it. Oh, you're a badass. Oh, this, oh, that, all this stuff, right? So, I can handle anything. I'm mentally strong. That's the catchphrase going around these days. So then let's back up to March 2020, COVID-19 hits, and everyone is stuck at home and the gym closes. And then everyone starts melting down. And, they're posting all these things. Oh, it's okay. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to gain some weight. It's okay to emotionally. No, it's not. You just put this shit on your Instagram all freaking year, how mentally tough you are and how strong you are and and oh no, the gym is closed and you can't figure out how to cope with it when you've just been reading all the self-help books. Ooh, I can adapt to change. Ooh, I can handle anything. Please give me a break. Now, don't get me wrong. It hit me too. And you're allowed. You're allowed to have a day or two when something goes wrong in life.
I think I did a post on my Instagram about this. Literally exactly what you're saying.
Oh,
like take the day, take your 24 hours to sulk in your misery, but get off your ass and figure it out.
100%. So that's what I say. You're allowed. And I actually think that the self-help movement has messed up that idea also, because the self-help movement has made us pretend that everything is positive all the time. No, sometimes shit is shit, and you have to acknowledge that, and it's okay. But then, you get off your ass the next day, and you're like, okay, this really sucks, but what am I going to do? Just sit here and rot away and turn into a fat piece of crap and get type 2 diabetes because the gym closed down, and I'm just going to order takeout to support local? No, you're not. Get off your butt and let's go. So, I had a moment too where I was like, you know what, this sucks because the weather wasn't that great yet. So, going outside and doing activities wasn't the greatest, but you know what? It's a choice. You suck it up and you say, listen, these are my goals haven't changed. I still want to be fit. I still want to be healthy. I still want to achieve great things. Oh no, the gym and the hair salon shut down. Like, it's okay. Throw your hair in 2 elastics, hold that mop up, and put a warmer sweater on and go for a run. Like, it's not the end of the world. So I forget what you asked me now, but
I forget too, because I really got into that little rant there.
But you're allowed to have a day or two, but then enough's enough. Every tough ass here posting all their crap on Instagram. All right, all those books you read all year, now put that into practice. It's not the end of the world.
Oh, I remember what we were talking about, because I asked you what you would tell somebody now who's going through like some shit, right? And I totally agree with you. It's about, you said 2 words there that are very important and that I want people to take away. It's acting in alignment with your goals and prioritizing. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to setting a plan of action for yourself and executing it. And if your plan of action and your execution is in line with what your goals are, you're on the right path. Where people get lost is in the goal setting process, where they're getting bombarded with information on what they should or should not be doing and setting these expectations for themselves on what they think they should be doing. And then they set goals for themselves that are just completely out of line with what they're actually able to complete in real life. So I think you're totally right. And that is the best way to manage your overall stress levels, is to live a life of alignment and priorities.
Yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong, like, I don't watch Netflix every night, but about one every 14 days or so, I take a pajama day. I'm just like, you know what? I'm staying on my pajamas all day, and I'm just going to, catch up on work, read a book that I've been meaning to read, relax. I don't know. I just do whatever.
Well, and that's what you need in order to keep yourself going.
Yeah. So I definitely rest and relax and recharge and all that kind of stuff. But it's just not about making excuses like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. You do, if it's a priority for you, you'll get rid of something else. That's all.
Yeah.
And why we started this podcast about female entrepreneurs is because there's such a strong relation between sport or fitness in your case that kind of probably helps with a lot of that determination that you show and that get shit done attitude that you have, right? So it's obviously clear to us that your mentality and your strong work ethic comes from fitness and sport, and it trickles into your professional life. Would you say like that's been a strong drive and motivation for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, yeah, I definitely think that it carries over into your personal life because sometimes personal goals take a really, really long time. Like, let's say you're saving up for a down payment on a house. This can literally take years. So you don't see the reward very quickly. But let's say you set a goal, you can do, 5 push-ups and at the gym and you want to get to 6 and you'll get that pretty quickly. And you're like, wow, you see the results of something that you committed yourself to, you achieved it, and it's empowering on the physical level, but I think it empowers you in all the other aspects of your life as well to be like, yeah, I can do this. And sure, it makes you physically strong, like everyone always calls me when they're moving, but it does give you a resiliency in your attitude and your mind when you have conquered something at the gym, which truthfully it's a very small portion of the population that can conquer those things. Then you feel sort of more resilient to the other things that might get thrown your way in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always think that athletes are make the best entrepreneurs. And that's because they're coachable. They can take criticism, adapt to it. They know what it takes, like you mentioned, to put in the hard work to make something last, have the fantastic work ethic, and then also be part of a team, and that it takes a team, right? So,
yeah.
Where can our listeners connect with you online?
That's a good question. Because I have so many
if
different
you want
things
to be connected with, let's be very clear. You can say, leave me alone.
Right.
Yeah, no, so of course, the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, you can find, the website is csnnottawa.ca because Canadian School of Natural Nutrition is a franchise, so I only own the Ottawa branch so far. csnnottawa.ca. And then online on Instagram, that's also at CSNN Ottawa. And then personally, you can find me on Instagram at Natalie_Rivier. I think somebody else manages for me, so I have a website, NatalieRivier.com. And then I also have nutritionwithnat.ca and an Instagram account, nutritionwithnat, which is more like a blog. So there's all kinds of recipes and workouts and just stuff like that. Because it's the biggest thing that people want to know about me. Like, what does she eat? What does she do?
We should do like a guest, we should do like a guest post on our Bodzii blog. You should, share some of do a little collaboration there.
Sure.
Yeah. We have one more question that we like to ask our guests. We're starting to ask our guests at the end of each episode before we wrap them up. What would your very last meal be?
Oh, I know the answer to that one. I tell it to my kids.
You put some thought into this.
I tell it to my kids on my deathbed. Make sure this is what I get. A chocolate protein smoothie. Like, I have so many variations of this. I could live
so
off
hardcore.
A chocolate protein smoothie. That's what you want when you're dying?
Yes.
Don't you have that like every day?
I do. I have it every day, and it's my breakfast because it's just, it's the best thing.
Is that why you go to bed so early, so you can like fast track yourself to your protein smoothie every morning?
Maybe.
Sometimes I'll go to bed. Like, I love breakfast. It's probably my favorite meal ever. And I will literally be like, I'm going to bed because sleeping is a time machine and I can wake up earlier and eat breakfast.
Right.
I'm that way with my coffee. I'm like, I can't have a coffee tomorrow.
Yeah, I have so many variations on my chocolate protein smoothie. It's just so rich and creamy and satisfying, and I love chocolate. So I guess my sort of guilty pleasure is, and it's only one brand that I'll eat, I don't like any other kind, is Brookside dark chocolate covered almonds. Ooh. They're the bomb.
So good.
But the chocolate smoothie is still chocolate, right? But it's much more nutritious and gives me.
Okay, we'll make sure that you die very healthy. We'll make sure that you stick to this lifestyle till your last breath.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. Natalie, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story and just, spreading a message that, again, I think is so powerful for a lot of women to hear. don't be afraid of gaining weight. Don't be afraid of lifting weight. Don't be afraid of eating more. Seek help, right? If you're somebody that is afraid of doing all those things, or, is just stuck in this old fashioned way of thinking women need to conform to a certain idea, like, go find somebody, talk to them, let them coach you, let them help you. Reach out to us, right? I mean, Natalie's done it. You guys can do it too. Natalie can vouch for us. I feel like we're pretty good at our jobs. Any last words, Nat, or anything else you want to share before we take off?
No, absolute pleasure to just share my story. Every time I retell it, it never grows old to me. I'm like, wow, I've come a long way.
I love that. Nat, it's so great. That's so awesome. And we're so happy for you. And I'm sure everybody listening is going to be super stoked that you're at a really good point in your life right now.
Yeah.
Crashing
Hey,
it.
Nat. Talk to you later.
Thanks.
Bye, Nat. Thank you so much.
See ya.
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of FGB Podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure that you are subscribing to our channel, whether on iTunes or Spotify if you're listening to this, or on YouTube if you're watching this. We're always putting out great content, whether it's FGB Shorts, where it's just Michelle and I kind of shooting the shit and talking about something great, or we bring on an awesome girl boss, female entrepreneur, to talk about her journey. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.